Are we alone in the universe? The debate over the existence of extraterrestrial life has been raging for many, many years.
Do you believe in flying saucers? Have you any convincing reasons why science fiction shouldn't one day become reality?
For believers, there is no doubt alien life exists. They just can't quite prove it. The reason? Alleged government cover-ups and concealment of close encounters in classified documents. But could the White House be about to blow the lid off the entire thing? U.S. President Donald Trump has now ordered the release of government files on aliens and UFOs just days after former President Barack Obama said aliens are real. But is Trump himself a believer?
Well, I don't know if they're real or not. I can tell you he gave classified information. He's not supposed to be doing that. He made a big mistake. He took it out of classified information. No, I don't have an opinion on it. I never talk about it. A lot of people do. A lot of people believe it.
Let's welcome Avi Loeb. He's a Harvard astrophysicist and one of the world's most prominent voices on the scientific search for extraterrestrial intelligence. His most recent book is Interstellar, The Search for Extraterrestrial Life and Our Future in the Stars. It explores the scientific case for searching for life beyond Earth and why becoming an interstellar species might be important for humanity's future. Such a pleasure to have you on the show today. Let's dive right in. The U.S. president says he wants alien and UFO files released because of public interest. Are you excited about this announcement? What would you hope these documents bring to light?
Well, thanks for having me. Are we alone is the most romantic question in science. And I'm very excited about it because maybe we will find a dating partner. You know, my colleagues in astronomy are seeking microbes. So you can either aim low, finding a dating partner that is lower intelligence than you are, or aim high, finding someone more intelligent than us, more accomplished than us, because there were 13.8 billion years since the Big Bang. And just thinking that Elon Musk is the most accomplished space entrepreneur that was ever born over these 13.8 billion years is, in my mind, unreasonable. And so we should be open-minded to the possibility that they might arrive to our backyard, because it takes less than 1 billion years to cross the Milky Way galaxy, and most stars formed billions of years before the sun. And so what I'm hoping for is to check if the US government collected any data that is of scientific quality that can indicate that, because they keep monitoring the skies, the oceans. And, you know, that's not what my colleagues are doing. Astronomers are focused on very distant sources of light most of the time. And so if there is something there, I'm ready to help government to figure out what it means.
You're, of course, a scientist and not a political commentator, but I do want to ask you whether the fact that the president right now is someone who has in many ways waged war on science and academia, does that factor in here for you?
I see it as an opportunity to perhaps learn something new. I don't get into politics. I think science is better than politics in the way that science brings us together. If we discover that there is another species out there, my hope is it will bring people together. We spend $2.4 trillion every year on military budgets worldwide, just either to protect ourselves from others trying to kill us or to kill others. This seems to be very narrow-minded, thinking about the Earth as a small rock that was left behind from the formation of the sun. There is far more real estate out there, and we should be inspired if we find something beyond us. I think it will bring humanity together. We will realize we are all in the same boat, and the politics of the past will not be relevant anymore. So this is really why I believe science can bring us to a better place.
Mm-hmm. Let's listen again to what kicked off this conversation. Here's former President Barack Obama speaking last weekend.
Are aliens real?
They're real, but I haven't seen them, and they're not being kept in what is it?
Area 51.
Area 51. There's no underground facility, unless there's this enormous conspiracy, and they hid it from the President of the United States.
Now, Avi, after that, Barack Obama had to come out and clarify that he was referring to statistic probability of us not being alone in the universe. What do the numbers actually tell us?
Well, There is something really clear here. The US president is being briefed about things that are not fully understood by the intelligence agencies. And there are two possibilities. Either these are gadgets produced by adversarial nations. The US is not doing its job in protecting, the skies. And in that sense, it's an embarrassment. And that's why much of this data may be classified. But there is another possibility that maybe it's beyond this world. And to figure it out, we really need access for scientists like myself to the data to see what it means. But it's clear that there are things that are not fully understood. And, government is the organization that monitors the sky all the time and the oceans. And they may very well have found something. We just are not privy to that information. And if it's 50 years old, some of this information, then there is no reason to keep it secret because the technologies 50 years ago are not relevant to the battlefield today.
How disappointed would you be if these files were released, heavily redacted, like we've seen the U.S. government do before?
I don't know. Let's hope for a better kind of disclosure. And I will do my best to help government figure out what they may have found. It's a scientific matter that should be at the mainstream of science because the public cares a lot about this question and the public funds science. And so I think it's inappropriate for academia to ignore this question and avoid dealing with it. We can use the tools of science to figure it out.
Mm-hmm. Just to be completely clear here, when scientists talk about life beyond Earth, what do they actually mean by life? Because it is a vast concept.
Yeah, all we can do is use the experience we have on this Earth and talk about life as we know it. But it may well be life as we don't know it. And by the way, we are creating AI agents right now that are, in a way, life as we don't know it, because they are thinking differently. They have silicon chips. So that's an example. I mean, it may look like putting lipstick on a pig, trying to make these AI systems trained on our content, and they seem to be similar to us, but they're not really. One day they might do something crazy because they're made of silicon chips, not flesh and blood. And who knows what the visitors from other stars look like, how they think. And I think, the best approach for a blind date, and that is an advice that I give often to young people, is to observe the other side, not to have a prejudice, not to assume that you can guess what the other side is like. Just observe it and figure it out.
Now, in 2024, I believe it was, that the Pentagon said it had found no evidence of extraterrestrial technology. But do we really need evidence of technology to prove extraterrestrial life?
No. Well, we can, for example, find evidence for microbes in distant planets, for example, by the molecular fingerprints that they produce in the atmospheres. We can also potentially find living organisms in objects that arrive into the solar system from outside, such as the latest interstellar object 3I Atlas. There were organic molecules that were detected by the SPHEREX observatory observing the plume of gas around it. So clearly, it's possible, in principle, even to land on an interstellar object and check whether it has the organisms on it, microbes that survived the journey. But in principle, technology is not a requirement for finding life, and microbes may be far more abundant than intelligent beings. But we don't know what is easier to detect, because if we, for example, find a gadget near Earth and it has buttons on it, it's clearly not a natural object, not a rock. The only question that would arise is whether we should press a button.
What would you do?
I would. I actually asked students. I would, because I'm curious, But I asked students in my class, and half of them said they're worried about the implications, so they will not press a button. I would also take a one-way trip if a spacecraft were to land on Earth, and I would be offered that, because I'm quite frustrated by the geopolitics of today here on Earth.
And happy to take some risks in the name of science, I'm sure. You have said it many times, the sky is not classified in and of itself. So if signs of extraterrestrial life were to be discovered by scientists like yourself, would that information go to the Pentagon before it's made public?
I hope not, because this is not a national security matter. Anything that lies outside the solar system is knowledge that should be shared with humanity at large. And by the way, I should make a statement about the scientific community. Whoever is dogmatic within the scientific community must be a mediocre scientist. Because a high-quality scientist, a genuine scientist driven by curiosity, knows how much we don't know. We don't know what most of the matter in the universe is. We don't know what most of the energy in the universe is. We call it dark matter, dark energy. We don't know whether we are alone. We should be humbled by our ignorance and be open-minded to discover new things. And of course, if you don't admit that, you can be dogmatic because you base everything you say on past knowledge. But the beauty of science is the ability to learn something new. And, usually we're engaged in exploring the known unknowns. These are things that we know that we don't know. But I'm most curious about the unknown unknowns. These are things that we don't even know that we don't know.
You say you're frustrated with the geopolitical state of this planet. How could our world be improved by the discovery of extraterrestrial life?
Well, it first of all will teach us a sense of humility. Traditional religions talked about a divine entity, God, that is superior to humans. But then Friedrich Nietzsche came along and argued in 1882 that God is dead. And that gave a lot of people the hubris to think that we are at the top of the food chain, of the universe cosmologically. And that's an illusion. And so if we find a sibling in our family of intelligent civilization that is more accomplished than we are, it will bring a sense of humility to us. It's sort of the traditional sense of awe that people who used to be religious had towards God, except that is, another being. It's sort of like a smart student in our class that we will admire, and then we will try to emulate, to imitate. So we will try to visit their backyard if they come to visit our backyard. We will learn about new science and technology, and it will change our religious and philosophical beliefs. I don't expect the Vatican to put me in house arrest if I'm part of the discovery, because we live at a different time right now.
That was Harvard's Avi Loeb, an advocate for interstellar dating and curiosity. Thank you so much for your insights today. For more on this story, I can speak now to Keith Cowing, editor of NASA Watch and a friend of DW's, of course. Keith, Trump wants to release files on aliens and UFOs. If you could dream up a scenario, what would we discover upon publication?
Well, not this. Okay, I always have this at hand just to get, I mean, it's the question everybody wants to know. I mean, is life out there? And this question has been brought up before in 1996 when a meteorite supposedly had evidence of life from Mars. Then a few years back, another president said, let's release all the UFO stuff. And so I don't know if there's anything left that has not been released. And to be honest with you, if we had discovered life from another world, you can't keep these scientists quiet. We trust me.
So no mind-blowing revelations coming our way. You're expecting pretty down-to-earth stuff then?
Not this week, not next week, but at the same time, I have a website called astrobiology.com, and I track this every day. And, we're getting closer to maybe answering a question. We've discovered stuff on Mars that you can't explain by non-biological processes. Does that mean there's life there? Well, we haven't proven that, but it's kind of perplexing. So, will this be somebody landing in a spaceship on the White House lawn? I don't think so. But might it be a chemistry that is indicative of life on another world? Maybe.
But it is the UFO stories that have long gripped public imagination. How do you think the fantasy around alien life and flying saucers shapes expectations around disclosure?
Well, I just turned 70, and as a boy back in the 60s, there was the Project Blue Book, and it was a big deal back in the 60s. It speaks to, if you look at the movies that are popular about, either evil aliens or being saved by good aliens, there is a, sort of a need on people to want to know that, like, there's a Star Trek future, that there's something out there that's exciting, that's bigger than us. And, some people project those desires on things that they may see that they can't explain. And, for all I know, there's an alien parked in front of my house. I don't see him or her or it. But, until you get proof of this, you're just speculating. And again, like I said, with the stuff on Mars, we have rovers there with chemistry that can test this. And we know that for a fact that something's going on there or went on there, but we don't know what. But it might be life. Sure could be life, but we haven't proven it's life. It's all about proof.
Yeah, and the president is selling this move as a way to put an end to speculation following these remarks by former President Barack Obama. What do you make of this decision? Is it a transparency initiative? Is it a political strategy? Is it a mix of both? What is he actually after by publishing these documents?
Well, if you listen to what he said on the Air Force One, first he said, Obama shouldn't have talked about it. It's secret. And then, let's tell everybody. I don't know. And again, this is the sort of thing that has been mined and looked at. Again, NASA has been asked nonstop for half a century to reveal everything, as has the Air Force. And all that's come out is a lot of we don't know. A lot of smart people sit and think about this, and it does prompt discussion. But at the end of the day, why is it that, videos show up on YouTube seconds after things happen around the world, and yet anytime there's a UFO, it's always fuzzy and you can't quite see it? What is it with that?
That was Keith Cowing, editor of NASA Watch. Thanks so much. Always great to have you on the program.
My pleasure.